So you're looking for a solo build that will get you through control points, heroic modes, legendary modes, summit mode, you know, even raiding material. You're having trouble finding that survivability versus the damage output. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you guys a build that I threw together a couple days ago that's really been taking my solo game up to the next level, making the content easier for me, and getting through those legendary and heroic challenges with ease. Stick around. Here comes this build. Hey guys, it's Graphology here, bringing you another Division 2 video. This build is mainly for solo content, heroic, legendary missions, heroic control points. You can also use this in a raid. It's not a bad build to use in a raid, like you certainly won't get shunned for using it. However, there are better builds for raid content and group content for damage output. But if you're looking more for survivability and still being able to take down heroic and legendary mode mobs, this is a good build for you. So let's get right into it. All right, so we're going for set HEARTBREAKER again because it's just overpowered in TU15. The weapon and weapon damage and bonus armor that you get for the pulsed enemies is just too good to pass up. I am running in this build the HEARTBREAKER chest piece for the double stack amount. However, I will show near the end of the video a alternative to this build that will not include both the chest piece, HEARTBREAKER, and the Memento in case you're having bad RNG. So stick around or go to that timestamp if you want to just skip to the non-Memento, non-HEARTBREAKER chest, all right? So going back to the build, you do want to have your 3 of your 4 HEARTBREAKERs keeping a armor. So I just lucked out with a couple of these pieces that they had very high armor. You want to reroll the secondary stat to crit hit damage or crit hit chance. All right, and this is again all based on your stat sheet. You want to make sure that your crit hit chance is between 50 and 60%. After that, you want to dump all remaining stats into crit hit damage. Okay. So going back to this build, you want to go 3 blues out of the 4 on your HEARTBREAKER. If you get a HEARTBREAKER rolled with, say, crit hit chance or crit hit damage, that's probably going to be the piece that you want to reroll to weapon damage. All right. The other 2 pieces are going to be a Memento backpack. So this is, again, RNG based, that if you can get this or not. So just, you know, good luck with the backpacks and hoping that it drops for you guys. And the last piece is a Cheska piece. Now, this can be anywhere on the hands, the holster, the headpiece. All right, you just want to have a Cheska with crit hit damage, and this should be crit hit chance with weapon damage. This build actually, as you can see, I haven't optimized it too much, but it still will work in Legendary just fine. I could even get more damage out of this build if it, you know, if I wanted to farm the piece. All right, so crit hit damage, crit hit chance right here. So that's the armor. For the weapons, you want to run the Kingbreaker, or any AR with flatline works just fine. The key thing to note here is whatever AR you use, you want to make sure that you re-roll this attribute to damage out of cover. The main focus of that is being, this is a multiplicative stat, so you're getting essentially 10% more damage to everything that's out of cover, multiplicative to your total weapon damage. All right, and then flatline, if you don't go with a Kingbreaker, you're gonna just have to roll this a 15% pulsed enemies after 3 kills for the regular flatline talent. All right, but you want to get it on an AR because ARs have the health damage multiplier right here, as well as like, you don't want to run an SMG with this because SMG don't really have a good range. Their reticle kind of jumps all over the place, so I would really strongly recommend an AR for this. LMGs do not use a Crusader Shield, unfortunately. You can't use a Crusader Shield, which is going to be the next part of this video. All right. So yeah, Kingbreaker is your main attack. You do need to get an ACS-12 as your backup weapon. Now, I will say this does not matter as far as your attributes or your talent. You can run with Flatline if you want. You can run with Killer. Really doesn't matter. This is not going to be your main damage dealer by any means. This is solely for building up your HEARTBREAKER stacks on the first mob in every engagement. That's really what the ACS-12 is there for. It is the best weapon to do so with a shield equipped, and you'll be able to use this with a Crusader shield off the pole and get your stacks up quick so that you can maintain those stacks throughout the rest of the engagement with the mobs, until of course you have to go to the next area in, say, the mission or whatnot. Okay, the pistol doesn't matter. Okay, and then the last thing to note on this, as far as the setup goes, is you need to have the technician, because of the linked laser pointer out of the technician tree. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the mob quit on so this has to be the linked laser pointer for pulsing mobs that you're aiming at. Same thing with this shotgun, you want to have the linked laser pointer on it. Anything else, you can roll crit hit damage, you can roll crit hit chance. Again, it all depends on your stat sheet. If it's between 50 or 60% crit hit chance, max is 60% crit hit chance, then roll everything else into crit hit damage. So I'll leave that up to you. Same thing with the mods on your 3 slots here. You can go crit hit chance or crit hit damage depending on your stat sheet. I like to keep this grenade just because if you're fighting Black Tusk, it's good for the robotic dogs if you want to lock them down for a couple seconds. Okay, and then for the skills, we do want to use a Crusader shield. The Crusader shield should be, with this setup, a 6 skill tier. So if you notice, I got a 6 skill tier Crusader shield. That's because you got 2 in the Memento, you got 1 from the Technician skill tier, and then you've got 3 on the Heartbreaker, so that adds up to 6, all right? The alternative setup for this is going to be a little less survivability, but more DPS output. So again, if you want to skip to that, go for it. As far as the second skill goes, I actually like to run the Artificer Hive. This is kind of up for grabs. You can run the Artificer Hive. What this essentially does is every 10 seconds or so, your shield will get buffed for about double its health pool, and it will get a repair for about 60 to, I think it's like 50 to 60% with skill tier 2. So you'll notice that as you're in combat, every 10 seconds or so, your shield will boost up about 60% of its health and get healed. So it's very good for standing out in the open and being able to shoot more so at the mobs, all right? As an alternative to this, with this build and the Memento, you also can run a turret, assault turret, all right? This acts as basically a decoy that can do some damage for you. And depending on if you pick up Memento tokens on deaths, on kills on targets, this will actually buff the damage output and the health of this turret. So it actually acts as a decoy that can shoot at mobs and really pull threat on mobs that allow you again to focus down with your shield. Now, of course, you're throwing away that 10% heal on your shield. So, you know, it's up to you. It's personal preference. I like to use the Artificer Hive, but by all means, if you want to use Assault Turret and keep that thing on cooldown and in the open for the mobs to attack, by all means do so. All right. So that's the build in a nutshell. Before I switch off, I am going to show you the damage on this thing and how you would do. So, you know, when you're going into a pull, you'd switch out to your AA-12. You would get right up close to the mob. You would start shooting. Watch my Heartbreaker stacks at the bottom there. They're at full. I'm going to switch over my AR. And look at the numbers that are going out right now. So these are the numbers that you're going to get. You're going to get on headshots about 1.1 mil in crit. When it's a health target, you know, health damage, it's 1.3 to 1.4 million crits. So it's a very solid damage output. And if you notice, my bonus armor is roughly around 3 million with this setup. Okay, so you have about 3 million armor right now with a 4.6 base health shield, and you have a 10-second heal on the shield from the Artificer Hive. All right? So it's a very good survivability mixed with damage output. You can take down mobs relatively easy. Elite mobs, get those headshots. You can get pretty close to them. On legendary mode, you do still have to take precautions. The shield is there to basically allow you to kind of peek the corners, get shot at by 1 or 2 mobs at a time, but pick them off while they're peeking the corners. You know, that's for another video though, about doing a legendary mode. All right, but with that being said, this makes it a lot easier, and it makes a lot more room for error before you actually go down and wipe on that setup. All right, So now I am going to show you guys the alternative. So there are people out there that don't like the Heartbreaker chest piece because their excuse is that they can't get their stacks up, or if they don't get their if they do get their stacks up, they drop off before they can finish off the mob. So they're not getting the quote unquote full damage output. And then, of course, the other, thing is the memento not dropping for people. You know, it's an RNG base. I understand that. So here is my alternative build to this setup that doesn't require any exotics. Okay, you can get this relatively easy, and here it is. So basically, what I did was I have the named item called Closer. This is a newer set. From the Bellstone, I believe, or the Usina Giteka. I'm misrepresenting there, sorry. So basically, you get 5% total armor increase, so that's actually adding to your survivability, all right? And then you're getting a perfect spotter. So perfect spotter is just a straight 20% multiplicative value, all right, on your total weapon damage. So if you're a player that doesn't like to be close up into mobs, and be focus firing with, like, the Heartbreaker and ACS, this is a good alternative because you're still going to get, if you noticed, I switched out my Cheska for the Heartbreaker right here. Okay, so you're running the Heartbreaker with another blue. So you're still keeping 3 blues on the Heartbreaker. You're also keeping the blue on the Gonzaga, right? And you want to re-roll these attributes again to red. Crit hit chance, crit hit damage. Okay, so now I've gotten rid of the extra skill tier for my shield on this. I've lost a red, essentially, but I've gained a blue. So if you notice, I've got 5 tier on my shield still. But I'm gaining a static 20% multiplicative damage on my chest piece. Plus another 5% total armor. So as much as your shield dying a little quicker, you still have a lot of bonus armor that you'll get from this that will allow you to survive long enough to get behind cover if you need to get behind cover and wait for your shield to come off a cooldown again. The other piece of gear that I'm using for this is a Cheska backpack. This can also be a gift if you want, like, a Providence backpack. By all means, do so. I'm keeping it as weapon damage. So again, you want to run all reds, weapon damage, crit hit chance, crit hit damage, with vigilance as your talent on this. Now, this is to keep up your damage output. All right. So essentially, this will actually do a little bit more damage output statically than the chest plate with the memento. When you start getting your stacks up full with the chest plate and the memento, and you actually pick up the backpack tokens with the memento, that will outweigh in both survivability and damage output in the long run. However, when you're just engaging mobs, this is the better setup for you. You'll have static output. I want to say this runs about 7 million DPS on the shooting range, so it's a little less damage output than the full stack Heartbreaker. But with that being said, it's still a solid choice, and it's a lot easier to gear. So essentially, again, you'll go for these 4 off pieces, chest and backpack. You'll go either Cheska or Providence with this as your chest plate. Now, if you can't get the named Usina, all right, you can always go for Gila. Gila with a spotter on it is perfectly fine as well. And the only thing that you want to make sure that you get on this is you get a spotter. Even if you get a core weapon, just know that you're not going to have as much bonus armor, but you're going to be doing more damage output. So again, you're kind of going to be shifting between survivability and more damage. But with that being said, either of them work for this alternative gear set. You really just want to go 4 set off backpack chest of Heartbreaker with Vigilance and Spotter as your 2 talents on these, okay? I would recommend the Cheska just because you're losing a lot of crit hit chance with those secondary stats on the Heartbreaker. So that 10% crit hit chance is very important for the build as far as your damage output goes. Okay. And And again, these you can keep the skills as far as you want to go either Artificer Hive or an Assault Turret. It works either way. Just know that you're only going to get one skill tier as opposed to two because you don't have the Memento on. All right. But yeah, guys, I mean, this is the build. I'm going to throw some of my legendary content after this sign off right here. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this build works out for you if you try it out. Again, you can bring it into raids, and raids you'll do just fine. You'll have survivability, so it allows you to kind of learn the mechanics a little bit longer before you die in an all red build or something. All right. But leave a like, sub if you liked it. Comment something that I can change in my format, or, you know, if I'm building these out, you know, a little different from your build. Let me know what your guys are doing, all right? I want to know, and I'd like to see you guys comment the videos, all right? But I appreciate your time. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one.
The man.